Hello there, good people. How are you? I hope you're all well. My name is Triza, and I am a monitoring and evaluation specialist. So today, I want to talk about indicators. When you hear the word indicators, what comes into your mind? You see, when a car is going somewhere, it has to turn on the indicator such that someone who is behind sees that this car is branching off either to the left or to the right. So even us, we need to have indicators in order to see or know where we are going. So, in simple terms, indicators are just variables that help us to track progress of our programs or interventions. So these indicators are set by us. If it is a business, you'll have to set your own indicators. If it is a project, you have to set your own indicators. And as I said, they help to show us where we are going. If you're doing the right thing, the indicators will show you that where you're going is where you're supposed to go. But if you're doing the wrong thing, still the indicators will show you that something is missing and you need to adjust. These indicators have levels, and the levels I'm going to talk about, I'll talk about the results chain. You see, if it is a project, a results chain is just that pathway that helps to show how inputs and activities lead to outputs and outcomes, and in the long term, the impact. So we set indicators at each level of results. For example, if it is at input level, inputs we are talking in terms of the resources that we use to implement our activities. For example, how much funds do you have? So that is an input indicator. How much money do we have? How many staff do we have? And then when we go to process or activity indicators, these ones just help to track implementation of activities. For example, if you had set out to maybe visit 50 schools in a month, so you would just have to, the indicator would be a number of schools visited. And then when we go to output indicators, here you would have to, of course, you want to know the number of students reached during the outreaches. And then when we come to the outcome indicators, outcome indicators are those that show change in knowledge, in attitudes, and practice of the intervention groups. So an outcome indicator would probably be percentage of students who have increased in knowledge on a certain topic that you have taught. And then when we go to the level of impact, the impact happens after a long period of time. So we link impact indicators to sustainable development goals that the government has already set out for us. We could talk about school dropout rate. Yes, so our indicators are aligned at each level of results in the results chain, which I have talked about. And then something else that we need to know about indicators is they have to be SMART. So if you are setting indicators, S stands for specific. So your indicator must be clear and people should be able to understand what it means and not misinterpret it. An example of a specific indicator could be number of children under 5 years immunized in 2025. So you realize that that is so specific, and anyone collecting that data will be able to capture exactly what you need them to capture. And then when we go to M, which is measurable, we have to set indicators that are easy to measure. For example, if you are still talking about immunization, you want to know the number of children immunized. So it is very easy for someone to go to the register and count how many children were immunized in probably a specific period of time. And then when we come to A, which is achievable, you need to set an indicator that you can achieve in a specific period of time. We set indicators that are achievable. When you're talking about, for example, immunization, you cannot set 30,000 children reached when you really know that the time is not enough for you to actually reach 30,000. If you know you can only reach 10,000 children, then set an indicator that you know you can achieve in that given period of time. And then when we go to R, R is relevant. Depending on the kind of project you're working on, the indicator needs to speak to the project and its objectives. If you are running a project on immunization, you shouldn't set an indicator on a number of children accessing water. You have to set an indicator that is exactly in line with what your project objectives are covering. So you would still go back to say number of children immunized in a given period of time, or you could even talk about the number of health workers that are present. Yeah, and then when we go to T, which is time bound, when we are setting indicators, we need to make sure that we set a timeline, By 2025, you have to end with a specific period of time in which you want that specific indicator achieved, okay? And then, so those are the attributes of a good indicator. It must be SMART. So in setting indicators, we need to make sure they are specific, they are measurable, they are achievable, they are relevant, and they are time-bound. That was relating more to projects, but business people, you also need to set your own indicators so that you track growth. Maybe you could say number of clients served, and you can track that monthly, or number of sales made, or client satisfaction rate. So several indicators can be set depending on the kind of business or project you are working on. Of course, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for following. See you next time. Bye.